So from the previous slide, you saw that you can explode the moment by adding details to your writing. So some ways we can add details are adding prepositions. We can add sensory language, like very descriptive words that make us feel like we're there. We can add figurative language, transition words, and dialogue. You might not be as familiar with figurative language or transition words yet in my class, but we are going to go over it today just a little bit. We'll get more familiar with that as we go on. But ultimately, what I want to do today with you is how can we make this boring sentence sound way more interesting? Because saying the boy is happy doesn't appeal to any of my senses, doesn't tell me where, when, why. So let's see what we can do to add some pep to the sentence. So I added some pep to it. You could have added your own pep to it, but let's see what it sounds like now. Instead of saying the boy is happy, we could say, Ethan, the boy with the blue hoodie, is buzzing with joy because he gets to bring home a new puppy this weekend. So already that's a lot longer than our first sentence, which means that it probably has more details. That's also telling us why he's happy. It's telling us a visual of what he's wearing. We could get even more descriptive than this. So going with this direction, let's see if we can add some more detail to be a little bit more specific to our senses. Okay, so we're still using the same subject, the same concept, but I'm adding just a little bit more detail to appeal to our senses. So, Ethan, the boy jumping up and down with the blue hoodie flopping on his back, is buzzing with joy because he just found out he gets to bring home a new Australian Shepherd puppy this weekend. So, some of the sensory details that we've added, we kept the part about the blue hoodie, but it's showing us an action. So, he's excited. He's so excited that he's jumping up and down. That's visually showing the reader what the character is doing. The reader's imagining that he's wearing a blue hoodie. It's flopping up and down on his back, which means that he's probably so excited that it looks a little bit silly that he's jumping up and down. He's buzzing with joy. That's a sensory detail that appeals to the sense of touch. Like whenever your phone buzzes and you feel that in your hand, that could be a touch sensory word. It could also be a sound sensory word. So that's something that we added there. And I'm also telling the reader it's an Australian Shepherd puppy. You could add more detail to the sentence, but I would dare to say that you could probably just start a new sentence. So going from the boy is happy to this is a lot better for the reader than just saying the boy is happy. Saying the boy is happy doesn't really tell the reader why he's happy, what he looks like, anything like that. So we're going to try to write our own sentences that are a little bit more detailed. So if I'm using a real life example from the novel that I'm reading with my class entitled Holes by Louis Sachar, this is a really good example found in chapter 46. And it's whenever Stanley is stuck in the hole and there's lizards all over him, and he starts to think back of happier times. So we're going to read what Stanley is describing as his happy time with his mom in the snow. So, he tried to think about other things. He didn't want to die with the images of the warden, Mr. Sir, and the lizards etched into his brain. Instead, he tried to see his mother's face. His brain took him back to a time when he was very little, all bundled up in a snowsuit. He and his mother were walking hand in hand, mitten in mitten, when they both slipped on some ice and fell and rolled down a snow-covered hillside. They ended up at the bottom of the hill. He remembered he almost cried, but instead he laughed. His mother laughed too. He could feel the same light-headed feeling he felt then, dizzy from rolling down the hill. He felt the sharp coldness of the snow against his ear. He could see flecks of snow on his mother's bright and cheery face. So in that excerpt I read to you about Stanley's memory, that was a really good example of showing and not telling. In our sentence that we just corrected together about Ethan jumping up and down about his puppy, that was very descriptive. But as you develop as a writer, you are going to show your reader through a whole paragraph, not just one sentence. So think of it as slowing your reader down to make them understand what you're really trying to say. So adding those elements that explode the moment, just like Stanley exploded the moment talking to the reader about the snow-covered hill, ice, and the way his mother looked whenever they were playing together in the snow. That is what a good author does whenever they want the reader to envision exactly what they're writing. So we are going to practice that a little bit more today in our Nearpod.